1870s is when you actually have a final link-up of the railway from New Lynn to Helensville. So all that West Auckland area is actually linked by train, and of course the train is also moving southwards as well. But that's not a real push, if you like, for people to live in these areas. The government is actually trying to open up housing in the 1880s, 1890s in Avondale and in Henderson, those other areas, but it's just not working. What's not working about it is the train is very fixed and determinate. It's always going one way. What you need is something a bit more user-friendly, and that's called trams. Now, we have the horse-drawn trams, which are opening up to an extent the 1880s, 1890s, but really it's the arrival of the electric tram in Auckland in the 1900s. And you start to see a progression of the tram lines out into the suburbs. One of the things is it push, is it pull? The tram is going out to Onehunga, the tram is going out to Avondale, the tram is going out to Meadowbank, it's going out to the bottom of Mount Albert Road, etc., etc. In part because the population is moving out that area, but also when the tram goes out, it's an added incentive for people to move out there. So real estate agents can say, hey, come and live in Avondale, come and live in Mount Albert, come and live in Mount Eden, come and live in Maramarua. The tram goes out there. You can still work in the central area, but you can escape in the evenings, escape in the weekends into a more healthy environment where you don't have smokestack industries, where you don't have the hustle and bustle of the city. You can move out into the suburbs. Now, one of the things about this push and pull, though, is you actually can have too much push, and that's an example with the North Shore. They started a tram service from Bayswater, which actually went up Lake Road and did a circuit around Lake Pupuki and back again. That was in 1910. And some of the promoters also bought up land in the area. Now, for one reason or another, there wasn't sufficiency of people wanting to move out to that area to make it work. So in that particular case, this was an example, if you like, of them trying to push it out, to encourage people rather than people already being there, pulling, say, hey, we want more infrastructure services, etc. So that failed. And that was replaced by buses. So you still get a situation in the 1940s, 1950s. Birkenhead, Northcote, are little separate little areas which don't have any communication between them, in terms of bus communication or anything like that. In fact, someone said to me not so long ago, it was actually easier if you wanted to get from Devonport to Northcote to actually catch the ferry from from Devonport into the city and then catch another ferry to Northcote or to Birkenhead. The development of Auckland, the expansion of Auckland, has been because of transport. Now, some of that transport is public transport, some of it is private transport. Now, arguably, the motorways are an example of private transport. It's public road, and they've put the motorway in to encourage people to go out to the suburbs, etc., etc. But people are now living along the motorways, and it's all dependent on the private car. So then little off-roads come from that, etc., etc. Auckland, however, in the 1920s, 1930s, was still driven by the trams, by public transport. People more likely caught public transport to come into the central city because it was easier, it was convenient. With the motorways and with the car, post 1950s, people can live some kilometres away from the motorway and yet still can get into the city, as they think, relatively easy. The trouble is everyone else has got the same idea. And the motorway clogs up.
That's interesting because you talk about that push and pull.
Yeah.
And what you seem to be saying here is that we've almost got a situation now with a private motor vehicle that you've got a situation almost 100% pull, no push.
Yes, that's right. It's pre-bridge, post-bridge, just like that. Just as with the Northwestern Motorway, it's pre-Northwestern Motorway, post-Northwestern Motorway. It's, in South Auckland, it's pre-motorway, post-motorway. and in fact, I was speaking at St Heliers a while ago. It's pre-Tamaki Drive and post-Tamaki Drive. You have these new transport outlets put in, and suddenly the whole world goes mad.